So, Erica, very nice to meet you in your offices in Soma, San Francisco, and you're the Director of Marketing for IndieGoGo.
Yes, it's great to have you.
So, excellent, lovely to be here. So how cool is it to be working for a crowdfunding company?
It's pretty cool. You know, IndieGoGo started in 2008. I've been with the company about 1.5 years, and in the past several years, we have just seen the industry and the need for fundraising globally take off. So it's been really exciting to watch people use IndieGoGo to make some of their dreams happen.
So, so everybody's really excited about crowdfunding. There's an awful lot of new companies onto the market, so it's obviously generating a tremendous amount of buzz and everything. Is that good for the market? Is that good for IndieGoGo?
Sure, it's great. I mean, IndieGoGo started in 2008, as I said, and since then we've seen several hundred people enter the marketplace. And our mission and what we're trying to do is really level the playing field in fundraising.
Right.
People want to raise money. A lot of people need money. There's always going to be that need. And just seeing that evolution and how people globally are able to do that, whether it's through IndieGoGo or through another type of fundraising platform, is accomplishing what we're setting out to do.
So do you think it's changing the way that is it changing the model for fundraising? Is it allowing different types of people to raise funds for different types of ventures?
Yeah, I mean, crowdfunding itself isn't new. The Statue of Liberty was crowdfunded several hundred years ago. The difference then was when the government made the call or plea to ask people for money, it was through newspapers. So it was very centrally located in small areas. Now, because of the proliferation of social media and the internet, it's so much easier for people to reach that many more people very, very quickly. So it's enabling people who never had access to capital, wealthy individuals, institutions, to tell their story and pitch why they should be raising money and reach the crowds.
So if I'm somebody that wants to raise money for a project or a venture, so what type of things can I get funded?
On IndieGoGo, you can get anything funded. We've had everything from a root canal to a multi-million-dollar business to cause, nonprofits, several creative projects, you name it. It either has been funded or will be funded on IndieGoGo. Anyone can create a campaign and set anything up anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world.
So is there any sort of data in terms of certain projects being more successful than others?
No, there's 3 things that make a project successful. You have to have a good pitch. You have to tell your story, be authentic, build trust with your community. You have to find the audience that cares about what you're doing. So we know people contribute to campaigns because they care about the cause, they care about the person, they potentially want the perk you're offering in exchange, or because they just want to be involved with what you're doing. So you have to find those people. And then the third thing is that you have to be really proactive. People think that if I just put something up on the internet, the money gods will come. And that's not how it works. It takes work. You have to be very proactive, do a lot of outreach to your inner circle, as well as encourage people to share your campaign broadly. And that's really how you see the momentum start.
So that's a really interesting concept. So a lot of people, I guess, expect to come to IndieGoGo not only be able to use the tools and the ability to be able to define and promote your project, but also expect there to be hundreds of thousands of people there with deep pockets waiting to donate.
Right.
So it sounds like you're suggesting that people that want to embark upon crowdfunding have to do a little bit more work than just post a project and then sit back and wait.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know if you woke up this morning thinking, I wonder what campaign I'm going to give money to today. But that's generally not how it works. You do have to put work into not only creating your campaign, but promoting your campaign. And then on IndieGoGo, we have something called the GoGo factor.
Right.
And what that is, it's a scientific algorithm that measures how much activity is on your campaign. So that's the activity that you control, how often you update your pitch, share your campaign, update your fans and funders, as well as the activity that's happening externally, how many people are visiting your campaign, contributing, dollars raised. The higher your GoGo factor is, the more likely you're going to be featured on our homepage, featured in our marketing or press, and that's really what sets you apart from everyone else that's out there that's trying to raise money. So it's a meritocracy. The harder you work, the more likely it'll be that your GoGo factor will go up, and that's where we can really help to amplify your campaign.
So is that GoGo factor something that's publicized, or is that something that only the fundraiser and your team can see?
It's publicized. I mean, it's something that we're very proud of that sets us apart. We really believe that people should earn their right to raise money. It's not, the goal is to eliminate the gatekeepers. It's not incumbent upon us or anyone in the IndieGoGo team to choose who has the better idea or who deserves the money. It's really incumbent on the campaign owner to show that they're willing to be proactive and are passionate about their idea and make it happen, and we're going to do everything we can to support that.
So as somebody that may want to consider a particular project in terms of making a donation, I can see that go-go factor, and that is one of the measures that I might use to sort of calibrate, you know, how invested that entrepreneur is or that project person is in their project. I can see what other people are thinking relative to the project, and it's a metric I would use to form a judgment as to whether to invest.
Sort of. We don't actually share the number of the go-go factor. I'm sorry if that's what you were asking before. We do share that the way we calibrate the campaigns is via the go-go factor, and as a campaign owner, you know every week from us whether your go-go factor is going up or down.
So that's really interesting again, because you're obviously using that to very, I mean, I don't know, is that a sort of a common element of most platforms, or is that something very unique to IndieGoGo?
As far as I know, it's pretty unique to IndieGoGo. You know, many funding platforms have some type of niche that they're focused on, whether it's the industry or the geography. And what IndieGoGo is really trying to do is expand the capability of anyone to raise money anywhere and use this go-go factor to help encourage people to be proactive and be passionate and help people that have that drive have access to the funding.
So I think that's pretty interesting, because obviously one of the things that's sort of really interesting relative to sort of crowdsourcing and crowdfunding models is obviously, you know, the engagement that you can create within that crowd. So it sounds like that's a pretty interesting driver in terms of sort of connecting and, you know, facilitating or encouraging those fundraisers to become more active. Can you share any information in terms of the tipping points within a project regarding, you know, somebody comes on and they launch their project, they start working hard within their network. Is there anything that you can share that the potential fundraisers can learn from this discussion regarding, you know, how the dynamic changes over time? I mean,
right.
Does the money come in steadily? Does it start slowly? I mean, what can you share?
Well, we know that on average our most successful campaigns run from about 70 to 90 days. Okay. So it is a fallacy that the longer your campaign is out there, the more money you'll raise. There really is a cycle to how the money comes in. We encourage people to raise the first 30 to 40% of their goal through what we call the inner circle. And this is friends, family, if you have a business or some type of project that people have already been engaged with and you have fans already, those folks. Now, the reason why that's important is primarily because it builds credibility and trust. A stranger will be more inclined to give money to your campaign once they've seen that a lot of other people have already done that. So if you know that someone, let's say mom, for example, is going to give you money and she just hasn't done it yet, make sure she does it right away, because that really amplifies your ability to build trust amongst people that may not be as familiar with you. So that's critical. The second thing is bringing those inner circle folks on board early helps to share your campaign. They might not be able to give you money right away, but they can reach out to their audiences, their friends, and really get sort of that network effect going. And really after that 40% funding is when we see a little bit more of a tipping point of when strangers or friends of friends of friends start to contribute to campaigns, and our campaign owners tell us, you know, wow, I didn't even know so-and-so, and she just gave me $100 or $1,000, and that's what really made me feel good about what I was doing, and continues those campaign owners' momentum with their funding.
Okay, interesting. So so as a fundraiser, when you're participating in this campaign, and you have the go-go factor to sort of measure, you know, your level of activity, and obviously that sort of can encourage more activity, more engagement. What advice do you give the fundraisers in terms of the way they communicate, or do they talk to the people that have donated, or once somebody's donated, is that it and do the lights go out?
We encourage people to talk to their contributors on average about once a week. So you can send updates through the IndieGoGo platform to anybody who has followed your campaign or contributed to your campaign, and we encourage people to send updates at least once a week, give or take, depending on the size and scope of your campaign. We know that campaign owners that send those updates are significantly more successful in raising money and meeting their goal. And then we also think about the campaign in 3 phases. You have your pre-campaign, so we encourage people to talk to folks before they even launch funding. Then you have the campaign when you're raising money, and just as importantly, you have the after campaign. And we encourage people to stay in touch with their contributors regularly after their campaign has ended, not only to fulfill their perks, but also to keep the momentum going when you start to create another one, because you can create a second campaign at any time.
So are people able to communicate directly with individual donators, or is it communication to the pool that's contributing?
You can do both. It's very easy to communicate to the group as a whole, but then as a campaign owner, you have a dashboard that shows you everyone who's contributed to your campaign, what they've contributed, and any other contact information or comments they've shared. So you can reach out to those people directly. And in fact, you can also see which of those people are the most active in referring your campaign. So if you have folks that you see have referred your campaign to several hundred people who have then consequently made contributions, you can reach out to that person directly and thank them for being so active, potentially give them more of an incentive to be more active, or find out what they're doing that's so successful that you could probably do too. So you can reach out to them directly.
So you said, look, let's look at the third phase of that campaign. So you reach your funding goal. So what actually happens then, and then how does one communicate through the platform past the point at which you've achieved your fundraising goal?
Once you've reached your fundraising goal, we encourage you to send out a note through IndieGoGo, which is very easy through your campaign, to thank everyone, tell them that you've met your goal, and explain what you're doing next. Also to tell people when they can expect their perks and how that works. And depending on each campaign, the extent to which you need to stay involved really depends on how you set up your perks and what you're planning on doing with your project. So an example is, we had a woman named Jeannie Finley, she's from the UK, and she created a documentary called Sound It Out. She's had 4 campaigns on IndieGoGo. They did a great job in their first campaign, which was pre-production for their film, to tell people when they met their goal and the campaign ended, thank you very much, this is what we're doing next, this is when you can expect to hear from us again, because this was only for one part of this film that we're making, and we're gonna need your help or support or encouragement in 6 months when we wanna do this next phase. So that was really effective, and they've had 4 successful campaigns so far.
So, so let's talk about, let's get a little technical from the perspective of the sort of the obligations and the relationships between, there's IndieGoGo, there's the people raising the money, there's the people donating the money. What is the sort of, first of all, what's the obligation on IndieGoGo as a platform to sort of ensure that relationship is successful, that the perks are delivered?
Right.
Do you do any tracking in terms of whether the funds that are raised have been allocated in the way that they said they were going to be raised? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, we do have a very high satisfaction rate amongst our contributors, so folks that have given to campaigns, as well as our campaign owners. So we do know that relationship thus far has been working. The way the platform works, campaign owners are responsible for staying in touch with their contributors as well as fulfilling their perks. That is completely incumbent on the campaign owner, and it's all laid out in the IndieGoGo terms, and when you start a campaign, that's all laid out for you. So what IndieGoGo does, we have this great customer happiness team that answers any questions that campaign owners or contributors have along the way. So if a contributor reaches out to us with a question about a campaign, we can get back to them, tell them how to reach out to that campaign owner directly, and help facilitate that relationship.
So what other things, so let's think about it from the perspective of the people that are actually now donating money. Mm-hmm. So what does the data show us? Are people sort of serial investors, and what's the percentage of those versus people that come on, they'll donate to a project and be happy to do so, maybe you don't see them for a period? What's the demographic of the contributor?
Well, we have a lot of both. Generally, people contribute the first time on IndieGoGo because they found out about a specific campaign that campaign owner shared with them. And then what happens once they've gotten to IndieGoGo, they start to browse, discover, explore, see all the things that are happening, and we do find we have a lot of repeat contributors. So the dynamic is happening on both ends. We also know that significant number of our campaign owners were contributors first. They found out about IndieGoGo through someone else who had a funding campaign, shared their campaign, brought them back to the platform, and they said, wow, like this is great, and I can do this too. I have an idea I've been sitting on, now's the time to start raising money.
Right.
So there is some interaction there, and of course, like I said before, we know people don't wake up every morning thinking, what can I give money to? But there are 4 reasons why people give money, because they care about the cause, because they want the perk, or because they want to be a part of something. And we do find, the 4th is a for profit, which right now on IndieGoGo, we don't give profit, so that's not applicable, but we do find a lot of those people who fall into category number 3 of really wanting to be engaged and part of something do come back to look for more. They're very passionate about these independent filmmakers. They're very passionate about dancers or artists or small business owners. A woman, Tori Johnson, who we've worked with, she runs an organization that helps female small business owners. She found out about IndieGoGo through one of our campaign owners, and she has since come back several times to contribute because she is passionate about the female small business owner and she wants to see what's happening and where they're making traction. So we do see that happen a lot.
Now, I may be wrong, but my intuition would tell me that people would probably be more successful if there's sort of a good cause or a good sort of mission behind it. So you mentioned the small business, sort of minority business type of things. I can imagine if there are people that are into the arts and obviously there's not enough money going into the arts, I can understand those projects being funded successfully. Do those types of projects get funded more successfully than sort of entrepreneurs that are trying to sort of make money with new inventions and things of that nature? Is that a fallacy or is that true?
I would say that's a fallacy. I would say the projects and campaigns that are most successfully funded are the ones that do exactly what I said before, which is have a great story and pitch about what they're doing, are very proactive and find the right audience. So many of our entrepreneurs are incredibly successful because they have a business or a product or an idea that the marketplace can only have access to through this campaign. An example, another one out of the UK actually, is a 3D printer organization that was trying to raise money for production of their printer, so as part of their perks, they were pre-selling a printer that didn't exist. They raised over $150,000 in a matter of weeks because so many people wanted the product that they were selling and they didn't have access to it anywhere else.
So, okay, really interesting. So that's so again, I was actually going to ask you about sort of the perks and things and to what extent you get involved in advising people on the perks. So, I mean, is that guidance you provide people? I mean, I'm sure there's sort of frequently asked questions and that type of thing, but
yeah, we do. We have a great blog that provides a lot of education. We know that campaigns that have between 3 to 8 perks are more successful. We also know that campaign owners who have large funding goals or a campaign that's going to be active for a long time should be adding new perks along the way. So the way perks work is the more compelling they are, if they're a limited edition, they're only around for a short period of time, they really attract the attention and the sense of urgency from the audience. So you can add more perks along the way. We do advise on perks. We have a lot of ideas on our blog of how to triangulate relationships you may have that can benefit all the parties involved. For example, let's say that you own a storefront shop and are trying to raise money for more capital, and there's an organization or company right next to you that really just wants to get their brand name out but doesn't need to raise money. Maybe they can offer you a product that you can give as a perk to your campaign just to get their brand name out. And so there's a little bit of an exchange there. So we do offer a lot of tips like that. Again, we encourage in the campaign creation process, we tell folks, here's what you need to think about before your campaign gets up. So we're very encouraging, and our customer happiness team always responds right away.
So you raised an issue I hadn't really considered before. So you're also saying that this is creating, as you say, like a marketplace in itself for the sort of the pre-sale of product that's going to be designed and launched and things. So that's a very interesting dimension around it. Where does IndieGoGo sit within the market? There are obviously, as we mentioned at the beginning of this discussion, there are many new entrants. There are some more established providers. How do you position yourself against the big ones, and who do you consider the sort of the top of the pack to be?
Well, IndieGoGo's been in this game now a long time. It's still a very nascent industry as we've seen the life cycle progress. We continue to grow. We're really excited about that growth. One thing we're very proud of is that we really are the largest global meritocracy in fundraising. We want anybody, anywhere to be able to raise money for anything, and that's what we're trying to do. We've been very successful at that to date. We continue to see a lot of growth. We're making changes and improvements to our product and platform daily based on customer feedback, and we're just going to continue on that route.
How can you give us some stats? How big? How many countries? How many projects?
We've had over 45,000 campaigns on IndieGoGo. We're in about 200 countries to date, and we see over 100 campaigns coming up every day. So again, we've seen a lot of growth where you've raised millions of dollars, helped people raise millions of dollars on IndieGoGo, and it's just been 2011 has been a great year, and I anticipate 2012 will be as well.
Great. Just a couple more thoughts. On Crowdsourcing.org and the work we're doing regarding sort of the taxonomy across crowdsourcing in general and specifically in crowdfunding, We look at 3 different types of crowdfunding models. We look at donations, philanthropy, and sponsorship. We think about investment models. We think about equity-based models. What's your view regarding sort of the discussions that are happening regarding whether crowdfunding can ever become another sort of capital market from the perspective of donating in exchange for equity in business?
Well, I don't know if you saw President Obama announcing his job speech that he's in support of the crowdfunding bill that's being discussed in Congress right now, so that's very exciting. Our perspective at IndieGoGo is that, again, we would like to eliminate the gatekeepers in the marketplace, and whatever we can do to make that happen is fulfilling our mission and our goal as a company. Right now, our contribution-based model, it's been working very well, and we're very happy with how things have been going. That being said, any growth or progress in the industry that allows individuals or smaller entities to raise money and grow their business and keep the economy stimulated is something we're definitely in support of.
Okay, so if we look ahead and say, okay, next 12 months in crowdfunding, so if you were to pick a few sort of big milestones, if we're talking 12 months' time, how would we mark any changes within the industry?
Well, I think this issue in the SEC right now is a big one. That's what people are talking about, and I think that will be something that will mark. Another one really will just be watching the momentum in entrepreneurship. This is something that we believe really supports entrepreneurship, not only in the United States, but globally. As I mentioned, we're in 200 countries, and we've seen a lot of hope from smaller, less developed countries as well. And so stimulating that economy, stimulating even individual entrepreneurship, and really trying to make some change, I would say, are the key benchmarks. And for us, we're just focused on continuing to grow as a company and making our customers happy and watching these people one at a time realize their dreams and passions through IndieGoGo.
Oh, wonderful. So it's great speaking to you, Erica. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me into your offices. And I'd be really excited to watch the progress and what happens over the next 12 months.
Great. Thank you.